Guardian Legend is an action-adventure and shooter hybrid developed by Compile and published by Broderbund in 1989. Groundbreaking for the time, its gameplay was inspired by free-roaming action and adventure games like The Legend of Zelda and Metroid. However, it also incorporated elements of shooting games like Gradius and Life Force. According to the box, you play the role of the Guardian, who seeks to rid the alien-infested world of Naju so it cannot expand and reach Earth. To do this, the Guardian has to deactivate 10 specific safety devices throughout the planet to nullify the self-destruct sequence. The top-down areas of the game are referred to as the Labyrinth, where the Guardian roams around using weaponry to defeat enemies and reach the corridors. The game uses power chips as currency, and some weapons consume it when used. The Guardian Legend had a large variety of weapons for a game of this era, which was a cool aspect that made it comparable with games like Contra and Super C. In my younger years, this produced several playground debates over which weapon was the best. Though the sprites are different, these areas really do play like the original Legend of Zelda. This can be seen in the screen-to-screen transitions, which feature unique enemies, present distinct puzzles, and require different strategies to overcome. To help with navigation, the player can press the pause button to view a map. One factor that sets the Guardian Legend apart from other games is its capacity to allow the player to move and fire in 8 directions. While this doesn't seem like a stunning innovation now, in 1989 it absolutely was, and multi-directional gameplay gave the player much more freedom to roam around the world than other games offered. Later NES games like Star Tropics 2 seem to have been greatly influenced by this functionality, and incorporated it as a way to expand the player's wherewithal to navigate through the game. In contrast to the Labyrinth, the shooter areas are considered the dungeon, where the Guardian boards a spaceship, avoids projectiles, guns down enemies, and proceeds to a boss at the end. Like the Labyrinth area, you have a health bar that can be refilled with hearts. So this is just another game that changes to a shooter as a gimmick, right? Actually no, not at all. Even if one was to ignore the other parts of the game, the Guardian Legend holds up as one of the best shooter games on the system. The controls are smooth, the levels are well designed, and the developers clearly use some creativity with the bosses. These bosses, much like other shooter games, have special movement patterns and weapons. When you beat each boss in the dungeon, you receive a power-up, also called a warp panel key, and the corridor is considered deactivated. There are 10 corridors in all, and when one is completed, the Guardian returns to the Labyrinth area again to proceed to the next corridor. Also, this game gets my vote for having some of the best title screen music on the system. I remember its sci-fi theme pumping me up as a young gamer and putting me into the plot. The game's music in general is excellent and one of my favorite NES scores. If the game were hideous, which it isn't, the music would still stick out as a redeemable feature. The Guardian Legend also had a commercial that compared it to the NES Zelda games, both big sellers, and boasted of the game's intense action. Take a look at this, the title's commercial from 1989.
The most action-packed adventure of all time. Killer crabs, mutant lobsters, secret passages, spectacular transformations, shooting cyclops, deadly jaws, exploding anemones, devious traps, unlimited firepower, a large choice of weapons, and more action than you ever thought possible. Guardian Legend for your Nintendo Entertainment System.
Wait a second, of all things, the commercial boasts of killer crabs as a feature? As an aspect that set it apart from other games? As one of the primary reasons to pester your parents to buy it? I suppose many of us adults that played the game back then can now appreciate the innocence we used to have, not being able to grasp the alternative meaning of killer crabs. But wait, there's more. The instruction manual reveals that the crab is in fact no crab at all. Instead, it's just a crawdaddy. What a ripoff. False advertising. I came here for the killer crabs. Issue number 8 of Nintendo Power praised the game, but it wasn't like it got incredible coverage. It never gained the attention of its more famous counterparts, and many people never learned about the game like they did Zelda and Metroid. Even still, the Guardian Legend has attracted a cult following that still appreciates it. Today, the game should be commended for bringing together exploration and shooter gameplay, and avoiding repetition. I've reviewed some other examples of games that did this successfully, like Zexus, but there really weren't many of them, and the Guardian Legend probably combined these forms of gameplay better than any other NES title. When one thinks of innovative NES games, the Guardian Legend comes to mind immediately. Complete versions of the game often accompany a hefty price tag today, but it's definitely one of the most underappreciated gems of the original NES. In all, I think the game is one of the top 20 games on the system, and certainly enjoyable to revisit today. If you like this review and remember the Guardian Legend, leave a comment below about the most memorable part of the game to you. Also, if you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel and click the bell to be alerted upon new ones.